Hi, so I think we have a few have joined us. We're going to give it a few minutes and then we can get started on our live session today. Uh, if you'd like to say hi, feel free to just drop a hi in the chat box. But good to have everyone, and we'll get started in a few minutes. Hi, Rebecca. Good to have you. Hi, Tori. Hi, Dan. Excited to have everyone. Hello to Colette. I hope this will be a good session for all of you. Hi, Amanda. All right. So let's get started. The secret to a great veterinary website, why they matter, and what you need to succeed. Welcome to everyone that's joined us. We're really excited that you're here. We know that you're really busy, so we're going to make sure that this is completely worth your time. So let's start with the next slide. My name is Ishara Nautuna. I lead customer and product marketing for Vetstoria Products. I have 2 dogs myself, so obviously it's quite a fitting job for me. And one of my favorite things that I do here is telling you about the cool products that we work on. And of course, websites will be of a key focus today. And that's something that I love doing. And we'll see what, some of the expertise that I'll be able to share with you. So now I know we're going to talk about websites today. And I understand it's not the 90s or anything where I'm telling you why you need a website. Of course you have one. It's, everyone has a website. It's just the norm now. But today, one of the key takeaways that I'm hoping that you'd walk away with is that you'll be able to differentiate the difference between having a website and a great one. Because what we believe is, and what we want to help you have is, we want your great service to be reflected online. We want your website to work hard as you do. And that's so important now, because within the next few minutes, what I will try my best to elaborate is that whole pet owner experience and why your online presence really matter. So let's take a look at some numbers, taking into consideration how we now search. The whole search of saying near me, a cafe near me, or even a vet near me. These type of searches have grown by 900% in the recent years, which makes a lot of sense. And 84% of those near me searches are on mobile. Again, makes sense because it's usually on the go. That's pretty much how much we are online and on our phones. 61% of mobile searches are more likely to contact a local business if they have a mobile friendly site. And that's really important and also shows how much consumers or pet owners like us are actually spending time on your phone. You'll see where I'm going to with this. And something we have also noticed with our own data is over 60% of online appointments are made on the phone as well. And that makes a lot of sense because someone like me, a millennial, I'm constantly scrolling. And when I remember to make an appointment for one of my dogs, I try to do that on my phone. So let's go through that pet owner journey so we understand why is it important for you to have the right online presence and how much of a role your website really plays. So let's take Sarah as an example of myself. All right. So if I have adopted a new pup or a kitten while looking for the right vet. So there are key things that I look for when choosing for a new vet. We're looking for someone who is definitely close to me because convenience matters. Someone I know that will give a great experience, or someone I read online that has great reviews and have a good reputation. But now how do I come into this information? So what I would do is run that search, like I said, look for it on my phone. So it's important that you are discoverable. I would try look at the social profile. I will go to the website, see what kind of services that you offer and see if everything is easy to find. I will read those reviews. I will, of course, speak to family and friends to get recommendations. But the important part here is in order to get those right reviews, in order to get those right recommendations, people need to turn up at your clinic. And for them to turn up at your clinic, you need to be found first. And that's why your online presence is so important. So how can you meet pet owners halfway in that journey? So what should you be considering? Making sure that you are discoverable online. Of course, we Google everything. Sometimes I tend to channel my Gen Z side and I search on Instagram also. But mostly I Google, and hopefully your clinic will turn up on the first page of Google. You would have really good reviews. It's easy to navigate on my phone because that's where I usually am, or generally your pet owner is. You can take it one step further and give value-added services like online booking, which again makes the pet owner's life much easier, and even yours. Pages that showcase your team, and just giving really good value-added services just on your website itself. Things like chat, again, things that Vetstoria can do. So this is just to show how the pet owner journey looks like, just as one example, what you can do. And what we will do right now, just take it one step further and show what you can do in your website to make sure that really good service that you provide in clinic is represented online, and how you can go about doing that. So for that, I'm going to hand over to a Senior Director of Website Operations at PetVisor, Joseph, who actually looks into one of our other sister brands, Pet Desk. He has been working on designing and developing and delivering websites for 15 years, and it's one of the key roles that he plays as PetVisor as well. And I can't think of anyone else who is more of an expert to take you through, to tell you why it's important and what you can do to ensure that you have the best website you can have for your vet clinic. Over to you, Joseph.
Thank you, Ishara. I appreciate that introduction. As you said, right, building a website can seem like a really small and trivial thing. In today's technology market, anyone can do it, right? And that's what it seems like. Anybody on this call can go over to Squarespace or go over to Wix, spin up a site really quickly, jam in some content from ChatGPT, load in some stock images from any of a number of stock sources, and off you go. You have a functioning website, or so sources like that would make it seem. But at the same time, right, you all know that your clients and pet parents in your market are absolutely spoiled for choice. Your clinics and hospitals are vying for the exact same prospective clients as your competitors. And at the end of the day, your website and the impression you make there is the front door to your brand. Okay. So we know that about 40% of patients never return to a vet after their first visit. And that's important to point out, because as you're thinking about the importance of your website, and you're considering how you want to grow your business and grow your brand, you also need to consider that it's not just about growth, it's also about retention, right? So your goal is not actually growing your brand by 5, 10, 20%. It's maintaining 40% of your existing customer base and then growing on top of that. And that goal can seem really intimidating. And I think that serves to highlight why having a really high quality, high performing website that really maximizes the authenticity and trust that you can build with your prospective patients to the highest level, right? And really communicate as accurately as possible why you are the best possible choice when, as Ishara pointed out, your prospective clients they're reviewing other vet websites, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, they're on all of these sources looking for the right partner for them, right? So your website, as the means of making that first impression and building trust and attracting customers, is really, really important, right? So obviously, the right website, and when a website is produced and designed and developed well, it can have a lot of benefits, right? You can be using that tool to attract new clients, right? It is the source of information as they're considering the right partner. It can drive awareness. It can facilitate conversion through calls to action and direct booking tools like Vetstoria, which Julian will highlight a little bit later on this call. It can enhance the experiences of those users by answering commonly asked questions, providing clear upfront information, reducing confusion about how to take the next step on their conversion journey. And it can improve efficiency, right? Things like frequently asked questions on service pages can answer upfront questions that your staff will have to take their time to provide an answer, like what is the right recovery protocol when experiencing this procedure, right? And things like that. It can also improve efficiency of booking, right? And that time-intensive manual process of, okay, let me fill out this form to request a booking appointment, and then somebody's going to email me 1 to 2 business days later. And by that point, I, as a prospect, have already booked with another vet clinic, right? So direct booking tools like Vetstoria can really speed up that process and allow your audiences to convert via your website at whatever time they need to make that appointment, whether it's 3 in the afternoon or 3 in the morning, right? So as we've covered, a well-crafted website can bring a lot of benefits to your business, but there's also risk inherent in having a website, right? There's that risk that a poorly made site can actually damage your reputation, and it can have the inverse effect on your business if done poorly, right? 75% of people base their impression of the business's credibility off of their website. It's the front door to your brand's reputation. And the first impression you make matters, right? And at the end of the day, having the best website in the world doesn't matter if your users don't stick around to see it, right? So if they land on your homepage and bounce because they don't like what they see and your bounce rate is sky high, your website is not effective. So what we want to spend some time doing today is talking through what you can do to influence that impression that you're making with your users, right? And the first thing is focusing on the look and feel of your website. So 94% of users don't trust an outdated website. So you need to ask yourself, is the site you have today, or if you're working with a partner to build that website, is the design that they're promoting for you, or is the design that you're selecting, is that up to date with the current standards and trends that your users are expecting, right? And secondly, does your website accurately establish and communicate your brand identity, the mission of your clinic, and the unique values that set you apart from your competitors, right? And if those things aren't immediately clear, the look and feel of your website can be improved, right? So, when it comes down to it, right, what we encourage our customers to ask themselves is, does your website communicate a modern, trustworthy brand to your users and not just to you and your team, right? Because your perception of your website is one thing, but the perception of your users is entirely another, right? So the second thing that can impact the perception of credibility is the user experience. And calls to action are really, really critical here, right? And we know that 70% of small businesses miss out when it comes to designing and placing CTAs on their website. And those CTAs are core to converting users from prospects, just considering your clinic, to those loyal clients who are going to return and return and return again, right? So when you're reviewing your website, as you're thinking about a strategy, ask yourself, are your users able to find what they want or what they need immediately when they land on a site? Are there unnecessary barriers or clicks between your users and their most common goals? Right. So very frequently we see customers come in, and as soon as a user lands on their website, they're hit with a pop-up. And that pop-up may be a special offer, it may be a news notification, but it applies to 5, 10, 20% of prospective customers, but every single user is being hit with that pop-up and has to take a click and interrupt their user journey to close that out, right? So that's an unnecessary barrier to conversion. Also, is your site built around UX best practices, right? And again, is it keeping up with those trends? And the last thing would be like, are you integrating tools like Vetstoria that can really speed up that booking and really make those CTA conversions as efficient as possible throughout the journey? And the last factor that I want to talk about here is brand authenticity, right? So we know that visitors form an opinion of a website, an opinion of a brand very, very quickly, right? Less than 0.2 of a second is all it takes. So that first impression really matters, and that first impression takes almost no time at all to form. So everything you're putting on the homepage of your website, everything you're putting on any landing page tied to any kind of marketing or digital marketing campaign really matters. So ask yourself whether your website up front and at a glance clearly communicates who you are and what you stand for as your clinic and the value you provide. Is your brand voice consistent across all of your pages, from homepage to your contact forms? And is that voice friendly and approachable to your users, right? Are you providing helpful, educational, and engaging content that your users care about, and that's answering their questions? And can a user immediately recognize when looking at your website what makes your brand different from your competitors? So, right, so those are the key factors that I want to introduce you to. And throughout the rest of this webinar and throughout the rest of my section, we're going to dive into those and take kind of a deeper view of what you can do to set your website apart, or what you should look for if you're working with a partner like us around building your website. Because everything we're going to highlight here is consistent with our best practices at Vetstoria, right? So if you're working with us to build your site, these are the things we're bringing to the table and the things that we worry about so you don't have to. So what makes a great veterinary website? We've covered how important they are. We've covered some of the risks associated with them. What are you looking for, right, to understand whether a vet website is great? And the first thing is clear and concise branding. So this is really simple, right? Is the look and feel of your website consistent and authentic to your brand, right? Are you using a consistent color palette and consistent fonts so that the visual identity of your site doesn't jar users as they move around the site, right? Are headings exactly sized the same? Is your body font exactly the same, right? Because any of that difference, right, causes confusion within your users, and confusion inhibits conversion, right? Are you building trust by promoting your mission? Are you using an approachable voice? Are you avoiding jargon? Are you communicating your unique value proposition by sharing who you are, what you do, and what makes you different? Are you using high quality images of real staff at your clinic and real pets, driving away from stock wherever possible? And are you driving your social, or driving your traffic to your social profiles where your users can get an additional look at your brand, right? So all of those things um, impact the clarity and concise nature of how your brand is being presented. All right, so the second characteristic of a great vet website is really well-made user-centered design. And the goal here is to ensure that your website is intuitive for your users, it's accessible for all users regardless of their ability, and it really provides a seamless experience for those pet owners as they're trying to find the right partner. Right? So what does user-centered design mean for you? It means that key pages like your services, your contact page, appointment booking, emergency care need to be really clearly labeled. They need to be accessible from your main navigation, and they need to be intuitive, right? More than 70% of website users are visiting on mobile. And if you're worried at all about your search rank, you need to know that Google prioritizes the mobile experience above almost every other factor as it's considering where to rank sites. So when you're looking at your site and you're reviewing what someone is building for you, are they presenting to you a mobile build, right? Are you reviewing mobile first? Are you designing your own site for mobile first? Because that's really important, right? Buttons need to be easy to click. Text needs to be readable without zooming. Forms need to be really, really easy and frictionless to fill out, right? User-centered design is also all about accessibility, right? So there's a really important level of contrast that needs to be maintained between any on-screen text and background colors. Images need to have alt text descriptions attached to them. And you can also impact the user-centered design by establishing trust with your users up front by putting your people in front of them, right? So do you have a team page that's providing images or video of your team so that they can put a face to the name as soon as they come into your clinic, right? Are you putting bio and personnel information right in front of them so they know who they're going to be working with and they can establish that trust before they even meet you, right? The next characteristic is strong CTAs, and these are really essential for guiding your visitors and your users towards meaningful interactions on your site, whether that's booking an appointment, calling for emergency care, engaging with educational content so that they can learn and trust you, right? So clarity is really important here. Using direct verb-driven language that tells users exactly what to do. I think it's really easy to fall into the trap of using some of that complex technical jargon, which as professionals is very routine, right? Because you want to be clear and concise, but that's not user-friendly language, right? So writing for your audience and for your users is really important, even though they may not have that same level of technical expertise around the veterinary field that you do, right? Um, Placing your CTAs front and center is really important. Repeating those CTAs at known breakpoints throughout your site. So, you may see a book now link at the header of your site, but are you inserting that same CTA at repeat points down the page scroll? So as users load your site, scan the whole thing to see what loads up, and then go exactly where they want, there's a CTA loud and proud right at the best point. And then next, are those CTAs visually standing out, right? Are they large? Are they easy to tap? Do they use a bold complementary color to your brand palette? All things to think about. The next is around engaging content, right? So the engaging content is really key to keeping pet owners interested, building trust, and positioning your clinic as their go-to resource, right? So the goal here is that they see your content and it is so useful that they know that you are the best authority possible for them, and they have no need to consider other options, right? Immediate conversion, right? So speaking directly to your pet owner's concerns, providing tips, answers to common questions, all great options to achieve engaging content. And in addition to being engaging, your content also needs to be really authentic, right? So are you using a consistent voice and tone throughout that writing that's the same voice and tone that your users and your clients are going to experience when they come into the clinic, right? So it's something to consider. And the last characteristic here is around SEO. And we're going to do the next slide here is going to dive deeper into SEO because SEO is a really, really complicated topic and it's really, really broad, right? But the goal of SEO essentially is that you're improving your search rank, right? Search engine optimization is what SEO means. It's essentially, is Google seeing your site and is Google serving your site as a result? Right? So are you doing the right things to enhance Google's ability to serve your site? And I'll tell you right now, that goes way beyond your website, right? Because your website exists as one component of a digital ecosystem, right? And Google is looking at all of that, right? So your website is really important, but it's not a magic bullet, and you need to tend to all of those components of your ecosystem. So are you claiming and optimizing your Google business profile? Does that just have your name, address, and phone number, or do you have your services listed? Are you answering frequently asked questions? Are you tending to your reputation via your Google reviews that are there on that GBP, right? As you've written the content for your site, or as you've brought on a partner to manage that content for you, are they integrating high intent keywords and geographic specific local terms that your pet owners in your surrounding area are searching for that are going to drive that traffic, right? So as Ashara mentioned, what's the best vet near me, right? What's the best vet in Minneapolis, Minnesota, right? These are all search terms that I used when Juno joined our family, right? Um, and then as I mentioned earlier, right, Google prioritizes mobile friendliness and mobile design almost above any other criteria. So when it comes to SEO, are you prioritizing that same responsive design, that same mobile first philosophy in your site, right? And then the last thing here would be that Google ranks websites higher when they regularly publish high quality, informative, and I mean, verbally bolding this term, useful content, right? Useful content is the key, not volume of content, right? So are you understanding what questions your clients and pet parents are asking and taking those questions and answering them on the website so that that information is publicly available for Google to rank based on? Okay. So continuing the conversation about SEO, I want to double click into that for a minute and kind of touch on the categories of what SEO means. right? Because it's easy to say like, what are we doing about SEO? What should I do about SEO? But SEO can mean a lot of different things, right? And there's really four main categories. So the first is local optimization, and this is really important for you all, right? As the owners and managers of small local businesses, right? So what I can share with you is how we approach this at Vetstoria, right? So when we're building a website for our clients and our customers, these are the tactics that we employ, or some of the tactics that we employ, right? So with regard to local optimization, the first thing that we do at the start of our build process is we execute a competitive analysis to understand the landscape that our customers and their clinics are dealing with, right? And we compare and contrast that with the unique value proposition of our customer in order to craft content and optimize the website to set that value proposition apart against those competitors, right? So we're also configuring things like meta titles and meta descriptions at the start of that build to help boost local rank. And we're creating a locally focused keyword strategy with regard to the content of that site and implementing that at the point content is written, ensuring that those search terms and geographic terms are visible and highly prioritized in the content for Google. Okay. The second touch point for SEO is around front-end optimization. And this is essentially around how your site looks and feels and how Google believes that it looks and feels. So this is around things like design and content decisions that we make to ensure that our websites are lightning fast, accessible to all users, and well structured for what Google expects to see, right? So for example, when we're loading images onto sites, we're ensuring that those images don't just stand alone, they're backed up with alt text. So that if a user with a visual impairment is using a screen reader, they can understand what that image displays, right? So it's not just as simple as picking out the right image, it's also backing that up with information behind the scenes. Additionally, as those images are served, is your website serving those in a next generation format, right? So you may have heard around terms like PNG or JPEG, right? Now Google's looking for images to be served in next generation formats that load even faster than those, right? And serve with a higher rate of compression and get those sites loaded as quickly as possible, especially on mobile, right? So that's what we're configuring on the back end. When it comes to front-end design, right, what we're focusing on is mobile first simultaneously with desktop, right? So we're designing sites in parallel, ensuring that both are prepared and prioritized. And that things like heading and content throughout the headings and content, I'm sorry, are optimized and formatted so that Google can see and clearly understand the hierarchy of information on the site. The next category of SEO here is technical optimization. And these are things that happen on the back end, right? So if you're not hands-on with your website, these are things that your partner or provider should be doing behind the scenes to ensure that your site is performing as fast and as well as possible. And these is what we're doing on the Vetstoria side. So first of all, we're making technical optimizations that ensure that Google can crawl, index, and understand your website. And what index means is when Google is trying to access each and every page on the site, can it see what's inside of those pages, or does it hit a wall and get turned away, right? Because if it hits that wall, that no index wall, it can't produce that website as a search result, right? So what we're doing when we're technically optimizing a site is we start with the very first step, which is developing your sitemap. And if you're coming in with an existing site, what we take the time to do is analyze the link equity of every single page on your site. And what that means is how many outside sites are pointing to those pages and what URLs do we need to maintain? Because if you have really valuable blog or page content that other sites are linking to, and all of a sudden that URL changes, you lose that link equity, right? And link equity and backlinks are highly prioritized by Google. So we make the effort to maintain those from the start of your process here, right? And then the next thing we're doing is we're making sure that your site is loading without any kind of delay, right? So there are two main factors here that influence this, and I'll show these live in a few minutes here. But the first is your LCP, which is your largest contentful paint, and your CLS, which is your cumulative layout shifts. And those are terms that relate to how websites actually load, right? And what displays and how large pieces of content take time to load, right? So if you have, for example, a big video in your banner and it's not optimized, it takes a long time to load and your LCP score drops, right? And Google doesn't like that, so it drops your rank. And the last thing we're doing is we're making sure that any code on your site, like CSS or JavaScript, is optimized and minimized. And that's really important to make sure your site loads as quickly as possible. And then the last factor that influences SEO here is how optimized your full digital ecosystem is, right? So as I mentioned before, your website is just one part of your search engine uh, profile or reputation or brand authority. And so other sources like directory listings, your social media channels, your Google business profile play a huge impact in how your site's going to rank, right? How many reviews you have, how many of those are 4 stars, how many of those reviews have images, all of that impacts your rank, right? So like I said, your website is sort of the center of that ecosystem, but it's not the whole sum total, right? So when we're building sites, we optimize your Google business profile at the time of your website's launch, trying to make sure that it's just really consistent, right? Is the name, address, phone number, links, is that all accurate to what's on your website? And is there one single source of truth, right? Are your service listed? We go through all of that stuff. As I said, online reviews play a huge role in SEO, so we encourage our customers to really closely monitor those, to reply to all reviews, using clear, concise, professional language, whether it's positive or critical, right? And then tending to those backlinks that I mentioned earlier. We make an effort to maintain them, but establishing that trust and continuing to build that and continue to get mentions is something that we encourage our customers to focus on. So having covered SEO, what I want to touch on next is just a quick checklist here of what your website must have, right, in order to be successful. And these are really, again, the best practices that we leverage, right, when we're building sites that I want to share with you, right? So the first thing is around what we do to ensure that we're tending to our users. Trust artifacts, right? This is things like showcasing client testimonials and case studies, any certifications, any industry awards, anything that we can surface and promote to establish your credibility and reassure your potential customers. Tending to our user experience, as I said before, designing around mobile responsiveness, designing a visually consistent and appealing website with a clean layout, right? That's a key priority and something a website must have. Clear navigation, ensuring that your site is simple to use, that it's well organized, that it is going to be crawled in an efficient fashion by Google, and Google can really find and isolate any specific service that you have, how to book appointments, how to find emergency care, for example, and ensuring that your users can find what they need quickly. And then brand authenticity here, right? Maintaining a consistent brand identity, fonts, voice, tone, colors, all of those things that reflect your values, mission, and approach to pet care. And the last thing is ensuring that your contact details are really loud and proud on your site. And I don't know about you all on this call, but I find it really frustrating when I load up the website of a local business, whether that's a restaurant or whatever, and I'm just trying to figure out where are you and when are you open? And that contact information and that core information is nested somewhere deep in the site that I have to click around through the about sections of the site to find. And if I have to take that many clicks, I'm already gone, right? I've already found the next restaurant I want to book a reservation at, right? So that's really key. The next thing is tending to your content, right? So again, I've mentioned calls to action before and stressed how important those are, right? It means ensuring that every page features clear, consistent, action-driven CTAs. I've touched on how important useful content is, right? Providing those pet owners with educational blogs, FAQs, guides, care tips, clinic updates, those pieces. Local keywords, right? Ensuring your page and your site are optimized with geo-specific keywords, right? Like best veterinarian in your city to rank higher in those local search results. And NAP consistency, right? Name, address, phone number. This is really core. And I was helping a customer the other day who was experiencing a drop in traffic. And as we audited their NAP information across their digital ecosystem, what we realized is their street address, which was, whatever, street number on a boulevard, right? On some sources, it was boulevard was abbreviated. On some sources, it was spelled fully out, and that confuses Google, right? Google wants to see really consistent, accurate NAP information across any point of your digital presence, right? And then providing really detailed service pages that go beyond just promoting what you do, but explain why it's valuable, what your pet is going to experience, what the pet owner is going to experience, providing pricing transparency, FAQs. All of those things will improve rank and improve your user's experience on the site. Tending to technology, right? What we're looking for here is optimizing for fast loading speeds, right? We want those pages and those sites to load really, really quickly. That involves image compression, script minimization, using things like a content delivery network with your host to reduce those bounce rates, right? The technical SEO that I talked about earlier, right? Making sure that your site is optimized, and really fine-tuned on the back end, and that can be really complicated. User security, obviously, very, very important. So ensuring that your site has an SSL certificate installed and maintained. Those expire every year, right? So having a partner to help keep that up to date for you can be really, really important. And that's what allows your site to load on an HTTPS instead of just HTTP, and prevents flagging that warning of a security alert, right? So if you've ever seen that, that can really scare off your users if security is not maintained. Also, things like payment profiles or payment portals, right? Any transmission of data, right? How customer data is being accrued and stored by your site, and the transparency around that user security is really, really important. And then analytics, right? So this is a thing that we take an effort to stand up an analytics dashboard for every one of our customers that shows where is the incoming traffic coming from, how many conversions are happening, what kind of conversions are happening. Are people clicking the click to call button? Are they clicking book appointment? Are they clicking email or texting, right? What is successfully converting users across the site? What are people searching for? What are the top pages people are landing on? How long are they spending on your site? How many pages are they visiting? Right? All of that information in detail is what you need to make the right decisions about your site. And so setting up that analytic profile for yourself, or having a partner set up that up for you is really important in ensuring your success. And then the last thing I would point out here from a technical perspective is having a really trusted hosting partner, right? So what's going to happen when your website goes down? Do you have a support team that you can call if there's an issue, right? Is your host making daily backups of your site in case something goes wrong, right? Does your server respond quickly when users are calling? Is your server located in the same geographic area to provide a fast load speed for your users? All of those things are really complicated, and going with some providers that just give you an off-the-shelf site, that's not necessarily a guarantee, right? So it's a good thing to vet out. And then the last would be tending to your digital ecosystem, right? So understanding that your Google profile is really crucial and optimized, right? Is very, very important to local search results. Understanding your backlink sources and maintaining that link equity, really crucial. Monitoring and responding to your online reputation via reviews, whether that's on Google or Yelp or any local source pertinent to your business, and maintaining an up-to-date, consistent, and authentic drip on your social media, and driving your users to that so that they can see your brand sort of in the wild and how it engages with your customers, right, is really critical. And then last, I think depending on what your business goals are for your site, or your business goals are for your business, engaging in some paid advertising is something that we strongly recommend, right? So are you running geo-targeted Google ads? Are you running ads on Facebook or Meta, right? With strong CTAs like save $25 on your first visit, book now, right? Attracting new pet parents, maintaining those existing relationships, really crucial. Okay. So now that I've talked about what makes a great website, I want to show some of them off, right? And I'm gonna own this. These are our work, right? So I'm really proud to showcase these. But I'm just gonna move through these fairly quickly and talk about just and highlight some of the things that I've talked about and show them to you in the wild, right? So can you all see the live site that I'm showing on my screen, Ishara and Julian?
Sorry,
Yeah,
Joseph.
are you seeing the website that I'm showing, or
I can see the website. Yes,
perfect.
absolutely.
All right,
Yes.
great,
Sorry.
perfect. All right, so this is one of our sites, right? So just what immediately jumps out at me here as I'm looking at this is I see 4 CTAs prominent on the immediate above the scroll portion of the site, right? So we have an appointment link here. I can click here to book. I can click here to book, or I can load up the widget and book an appointment live on the site, right? So this site really does a great job of promoting clear, concise call to actions, right? And as we go down, we can see, right, I'm immediately seeing an exterior image of the clinic. I know what to expect when I go visit, right? I know what kind of environment I'm bringing my pet to, right? And then we go immediately into information about the services, which is what I'm looking to find, right? Like I want to know, do you provide the service that I'm specifically looking for and that I'm trying to book an appointment around? Okay. Another great example here is Piedmont Equine. This is one of our more specialty clinics and customers that obviously focuses specific on equine care, right? And this really highlights some excellent design, right? Showing a huge full screen video that really showcases the quality of this facility, right? And you can see, right, this is an example located in Madison, Georgia. This is an example of how we integrate local geographic specific keywords into content in a really intuitive way, but in something that allows Google to see exactly where this is located and serve that best vet near me result when users are searching for it. The next thing I want to highlight here is the output of all of that SEO work, right? So you might be wondering, like, what does that mean? How could I see it? How could I see if it is working, right? And any user on the internet can load up a tool called Google Lighthouse and run a Google Lighthouse report on any website, right? It's publicly available information and it's free to use, right? So this is a Google Lighthouse report from one of our clinics. And you can see right here, I'm looking at the mobile report, not the desktop report. And I have upfront scores on all the performance of this site, right? And this is from Cherry Grove Animal Hospital, which you can see sort of preview of the mobile version. And you can see right here, the mobile performance score for this site is a 92, right? And that's a very, very good score, right? And that is your mobile performance score is the number one thing Google is going to look at when they are considering your site for search rank. Like this is the number one criteria for success, right? Accessibility, all of our sites, we use a widget on them that allow users to tailor the accessibility of the site to them. It allows them to increase or decrease the contrast level of the text, scale text up or down. So our sites are actually live and responsive to the customer or to the user in terms of accessibility. And then best practice in SEO, you can see we've got high scores there. So this is a little bit of what you can look at to see is the site you're using today, is that performing well for you, or what can be improved? And to see what can be improved, right, I'm going to bring up an example that's not performing so well. And this is not one of our sites. This is one of our competitor sites. So I've blurred out some of the images of it so that there's no identifying information. I don't want to out anybody. But you can see here, this site features a mobile performance score of 32. Right? The accessibility score 87, SEO score 85, best practice is 96. And you can see here some of those things I referred to before, right? We've got a first contentful paint. We've got our largest contentful paint, right? And those numbers are dragging, right? And they're dragging the performance of the site down. And what this tool will show you is exactly what needs to happen in order to resolve those issues, right? So some of those things that I talked about before, like reducing unused code, right? Reducing JavaScript, avoid layout shifts, avoiding large content paints, right? Serving images in next-gen formats, right? These are the things Google is specifically looking for, and that's why we incorporate those into our best practices and why we would encourage you to do the same, right? So I hope this is helpful in understanding kind of what makes a great website and what you can do to achieve success in your own endeavor, or what you can look for in a partner if you're looking for somebody to help you with this on your side. Right. So up next, I want to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Julian Pablon, who leads the implementation and customer support teams at Vetstoria. And, you know, Julian has, I'm just to be honest with you, a tremendously impressive reputation in the veterinary industry. He's a co-founder of Vetstoria and just an incredibly passionate professional. So I'm pleased to introduce you, Julian, and hand it over to you for the next portion of this webinar.
Thank you, Joseph. Appreciate that. Yep. So, you know, sort of hello, everybody. Very nice to, you know, talking to you as well. So now I think Joseph made some extremely good points, and we all have a better idea around what makes a great website. Now, my section will be about, how we can help you assess your current website a bit better. And also, should we need to, how do we go about implementing Vetstoria websites? And that's where I'd like to start. And there's really 5 points that I'd like to make about sort of what you can expect, if we start working together. First point is about consultation and discovery. The implementation process will start with the client completing an intake survey, and this will be promptly followed by a kickoff call. The purpose of the intake survey and the kickoff call will be to establish a very clear understanding between you, the client, and your project coordinator at Vetstoria. On one end, we'll need to understand exactly what you need, what kind of website you want. And on your end, you'll also need to understand how the process works and what will be required of you in that process. Okay, so the goal of this initial step is critical, and that's to obtain a pleasant implementation experience without too many surprises along the way, and of course, a great website at the end. The second point is tailored design and development. So whilst you'll work with a project coordinator for progressing through the implementation, a web designer will be assigned to create the look and feel of your website. The designer will focus on designing the layout, choosing color schemes, selecting a type of design that is suitable for your needs. The goal would be to make sure that the site is both appealing and easy to navigate for your clients. Third point, SEO and performance optimization. So a lot has been said about that already, but our websites are built with SEO in mind. Okay, and this is to make sure that we drive more pet owners to your clinics, which is of course the primary goal of it all. So this includes, of course, all aspects of technical SEO. For example, having fast loading pages and mobile optimized, but also and very crucially, making sure that the content will also be optimized for SEO performance. Fourth point, seamless integration. Your website will need to include sort of various call to actions. Online booking is a great example of this, and we can ensure perfect integration of those sort of features for an optimal user experience on your website. The pet owners will not be redirected to external pages, but will stay on your website throughout the whole booking process, for example. Fifth point, once we've implemented your website, it's very important that we keep supporting it, sort of throughout its lifetime. Okay, sort of things go out of date very quickly, and this is an essential part and very much a prolongation of the implementation process. And supporting a website is not just about adding a few pictures or updating sort of your fee structure once a year. There are numerous technical tasks such as updating your plugins in the backend, for example, which will need to be done. And this is part of our package, and you won't need to worry about this at all. Next slide, please, Joseph. Thank you. So what next? I guess at this stage, maybe it'd be a good idea to assess, okay, your current website, okay, and decide, sort of how you can improve it, or maybe if you need sort of a new one. And how can we help you to go about that business? Well, we offer two services really. Okay, so we can do it with you or for you. You can book a demo or a consultation with us, and we'll go through it together. The second option is, if you prefer to do it yourself, is to use some of our resources, which we're making available on our website. So if you check vetstoria.com, look for the website page. I believe there's a QR code at the end of the presentation as well, if you want to go faster. And we'll give you sort of three very useful resources. A website checklist, a website quiz, okay, and also an SEO guide. And to make sure that you don't waste your time, I'd like to go through each of those resources and explain in a bit more details what they do. So next slide, please, Joseph. Thank you. So the website checklist. Okay, so this is a very comprehensive guide which is designed to help you build a high-performing website. And whether you're actually creating a new website or you simply want to improve your existing one, this checklist will provide you with great tips to ensure your website is very functional and engaging for pet owners. So naturally, this checklist will include many of the items which were discussed today already. I mean, Joseph had a slide on the checklist already. But there you'll find Items such as, for example, the need to have fast loading website, okay, which is crucial for an optimal user experience and a good Google ranking. We'll check that you've got clear call to action buttons, okay, for example, to encourage pet owners to book appointments easily from the website. We'll help you identify that you have a up-to-date SSL certificate. Make sure your website is safe. We'll check you have a comprehensive services page to showcase how you serve your customers. We'll check if you've got a compelling about us page. Okay, so we know this is a very popular page on your website, and where we need to have team members' pictures and engaging bios. We'll check all this. Have you got accurate and easy, to find contact details and hours of operations? Critical to ensure clients can easily find you and contact you. Finally, do you encourage people to leave Google reviews? I mean, strong Google reviews is extremely helpful, okay, to encourage, to improve credibility and get sort of improved SEO as well. So that's what the website checklist will do. And, I think it's a great resource. You can certainly go about and do that. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the website quiz. So in many ways, this resource will cover very similar topics, okay? But it's a slightly different format, maybe a more engaging format. And in just a few minutes, you'll get a great assessment of your website strengths. You'll also be able to identify where maybe it needs a little bit of TLC. And by taking this quiz, you'll walk away with hopefully a fairly clear roadmap for making a better website, make it work harder for your clinic. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. So the SEO guide, the last resource, so this is where, we'll explain everything that there is to know about SEO. Okay, so it will explain SEO fundamentals, which will help you understand what is SEO, why it matters so much. More specifically, you'll learn how search engines work. You'll be explained the processes of crawling, indexing, and ranking, which Joseph has mentioned earlier, and which search engines like Google sort of use to rank your website. We'll define and explain 5 key SEO elements, the keywords, the backlinks, the meta tags, mobile optimization, and local SEO strategies. And maybe most important of all, we'll give you some very practical advice to improve the SEO of your website. Okay, and those are the 8 items that you can see displayed on the slide here. I won't go through all of them, but basically the guide will touch base on the website structure, the content marketing, and social media integration. Finally, this resource will include some FAQs. Okay, so all in all, another great resource for you guys. And I think that with all this, you should be all set to assess your current website, see how you can improve it. And should you decide that you actually prefer to have a new one, then we'll be here to help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. It's quite exciting, the support that we will be able to give veterinary clinics with this, because, it is quite a bit of work, and, we have the expertise to give you that. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, you can do that. And I see a few that has come in as well. I think this one is unique. We can start with this. Maybe Joseph, if you'd like to take this one. Is there a recommended number of frequently asked questions or FAQs that we should have on our page?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? I think I would refer back to what I said earlier around the key to content is its usefulness, right? So it's not about slamming 50 questions into an FAQ and making sure that's posted on every page. It's about posting the content that's relevant to your users, and ensuring that it's clear and authentically voiced, right? So if you think about all of your services pages, right, is there the opportunity to put a 2, 3, 4 question FAQ on those pages to answer common questions that your customers and your clients are actually asking about the service? Like, that's a great idea, right? And similarly in the About Me section or About Us section of your site, right, is there an opportunity to sort of use that as a catch-all for questions about hours or location, and just make sure that there is a consistent and grouped location for your users to find that, right? Like that's a great opportunity. So I would say there's not necessarily a fixed number that you should aim for. It's more about you should aim for a result that's useful for your users.
Yep, that makes sense. We have a question from Tori. Hello. Hello, Tori. I need to increase new client bookings. How can a well-designed website support me with this?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. That's definitely the goal, right? Converting prospects into bookings. And I think, we've touched on a number of different tactics that I would recommend, right? I would focus on using some of the resources that Julian promoted to assess your website against our best practices to see if, there's low-hanging fruit that can be grabbed, right? But I would focus primarily on where your CTA is pointing and what is the user experience that users have once they get to your website, have to find that CTA and take the journey from there, right? So I was filling out a form last night, right, on my mobile device, right, and I was unable to scroll on mobile past entering my phone number, right? So immediately I now have to problem solve for the experience of filling this form out. I, as the user, have to decide how motivated am I to book this service? Like, do I want to like tech support this website? Do I want to open it in desktop view and try and solve for it? Right. So think about the full customer journey, make it as smooth and as frictionless as possible. And honestly, like, I'm not trying to overly assert the value of our product, but a direct booking tool like Vetstoria, like removing all of that delay, removing the need to fill out complicated forms can really smooth out that customer experience, right? So that, I personally think our product is great. There's a lot of others in the market that do similar things, but if that's not something you have integrated into your site right now, I would seriously consider it.
I like that you mentioned that, Joseph, because I feel we have a question here that like builds a nice seg into that. Maybe this is something that JP can take. What features should we look for in a veterinary online booking system?
Yeah, so thank you, Shara. So for the online booking, I think that Joseph, sort of laid down the steps already. You want it to make it very simple, okay, for your pet owners. So you wouldn't want to have a tool where you need to log in, or that you've got any sort of roadblocks along the way. I mean, it has to be as quickly as possible, giving you sort of the available dates and times where you can book the appointment so that you can see if it's good for you as a pet owner, and then making it simple to complete the appointment booking. Okay, so now what that means is that if you don't have, login and so on, there might be sort of a little touch of admin sort of at the clinic. Okay, but you need to focus on the pet owner experience if your goal is to attract the new clients. It also need to be set up sympathetically where you will make enough availabilities for new clients, so that they can find what they want. We sometimes see people that use our services but want to block new clients from booking same day bookings, for example. Okay, if the primary goal is to obtain new client bookings, that would be counterproductive. Now, of course, that's a somewhat a slightly different, topic than the websites, but it's also one that I'm very passionate about and be very happy to go through this with whoever's interested.
Yes, thank you. I think we can take one more question because we have a couple of minutes left. And I know that this is something that you talked a little bit about, Joseph, as well, but maybe we can just do a quick recap. How do we ensure our website ranks well on Google and attract more pet owners? I feel like might need more time, but if we are able to do a recap, we can.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is the number one question, right? And we get so many calls from our customers where they're concerned, right? Like, I'm not seeing my site. I'm searching for my clinic. I'm not seeing it, right? And I think it's really important to understand that, Google is like the great and mysterious Oz, right? They're the wizard behind the curtain, and they don't reveal their machinations and methods to anyone, right? But what Google is using to consider when you are searching for something is a complex equation that goes beyond the terms of your search. Right. So where you are geographically at the point of your search, what websites you've looked at previously, what Google has profiled about you in terms of your information, all of those things factor into the results that's promoting for you, right? So the first thing I would encourage everybody to understand is that what you are seeing when you search for your clinic on any kind of search engine is not necessarily what your users are seeing. Right. But beyond that, all of those best practices we talked about, right? Name, address, phone number consistency, SEO optimization, adherence to best practices, useful content, all of those things are really, really key to maximizing your placement on that search engine results page.
Thanks, Joseph. And I think we've just we're right on time as well. Thank you to everyone who joined us. If you're watching this as a recording, thank you for making the time. And we hope that all of the resources that we took you through today are quite helpful. But yes, feel free to just visit our website so you can find out more information about, so we can help you build a great website. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Julian. Thanks, Joseph, for hosting with me.
Thanks,
you, Shara.
everybody.
Thank you, Joseph.